It's draft season, baby. Washington Commanders Nation. Mock Draft Mondays are back on the channel. Today, I will be doing my mock draft 1.0 for the Washington Commanders. It will be a 3-round mock draft. 3 rounds. We have 5 picks in the first 3 rounds. We have 5 picks in the top 100. In this particular mock draft, I will be picking 6 players, and I will be trading a star player from our team. Put star in parentheses because it's subjective whether he's a star or not. Here, he's a star, and there have already been conversations about whether or not we're going to actually trade this guy or if he's even going to ask for a trade. Well, in this mock draft, I'm doing first. We now have a head coach. I am under the assumption that Kliff Kingsbury is now our offensive coordinator, and Washington is remaining at number 2 in the draft. There will be no trade back scenarios in this draft. There's going to be a trade up and an acquisition in the second round as well. We're going to get to that in just a second. So today, the mock draft will be pick 2, 36, 40, 67, and 96, but we're going to make it fun. We're going to have a great time, and you have been warned. This mock draft is very, very offensive heavy, and there's a reason for that. We hired a defensive head coach. We have a lot of money to spend. I think the majority of our cap is going to go towards defensive players and scheme fits for Dan Quinn so he can get the defensive ball rolling over here. We're drafting a quarterback at 2. And you already see the thumbnail, so you already know where we're going. So let's start there. Here's the thinking going into the number 2 pick. The Bears took Caleb Williams. No-brainer to start the top of the draft. They moved on from Justin Fields. Don't know or care what the compensation was for Fields because I'm not interested in Justin Fields. Like the athleticism, like what he could be if he ever becomes a finished product, but after 3 years in the league, he can't complete passes. We're staying at 2, and our QB quandary is between Drake May and Jaden Daniels. And in this particular mock, I am taking quarterback Drake May, UNC Chapel Hill. Someone we should know very well because our starting quarterback this year, Sam Howell, is his best friend in real life, and he's the guy who succeeded Sam Howell in UNC. Phenomenal sophomore. I'm on Pro Football Network reading the draft profile. 6'5", 229 pounds. Tall, prototypical, well-built quarterback with superb mobility and quantifiably elite arm talent. Generates high-level velocity with effortless ease and a crisp, snappy release. Can push the ball outside the numbers and pass tight coverage with very little strain. This is from Ian Cummings of the Pro Football Network. I like Drake May. I think I'm higher on Drake May than most people. The lazy helmet scouting timeline on Twitter will tell you Drake May is Sam Howell because they're white and he went to UNC. They are not the same quarterback at all. Just for starters, did you see that picture of Drake May standing Sam at the UNC Duke game? He is a mammoth human being standing next to Sam Howell. Sam Howell looks like his little brother or his young son. 6'5", 229 with arm talent. Those are things you cannot teach. Those are intangible traits that are skills. Size is a skill. It's an intangible. It's a trait. You can't teach 6'5". And despite the fact that we got Kliff Kingsbury as our offensive coordinator, or at least in this mock draft version, that's who we think we're getting right now, I think Drake May can run the air raid offense just as well as Jaden Daniels could. Drake May is the younger prospect. He's 21 years old. An amazing season his sophomore year. His numbers took a dip his junior year. I'm taking that body of work at 21 over Jaden Daniels' 5-year sample size, in which he had one great season, another all right season, and a bunch of meh in 5 years. As a 23-year-old prospect, he's closer to a finished product already. There's a lot more meat to get off the bone with Drake May here. So I'm liking the potential, and I think he's a guy that could master an NFL offense or even the air raid with Kliff Kingsbury. I think he can push the ball down the field because he has way more than enough arm power. Some people will say it's not enough. Some people will say it's elite. So it has to fall somewhere in between the two. More than enough arm power. I see Drake May. Everybody says Justin Herbert. I see Phillip Rivers with the ability to run when I see Drake May. So I am totally fine with taking Drake May at 2 and building this program around Drake May. I'm sorry. I want the size. I want the size, weight, speed, not raw quarterback. He does need some things to clean up in his mechanics. He has the arm arrogance where he tries to go all arm and lack the lower body mechanics to complete throws sometime. And his accuracy dipped in the year, but he also had a change of offensive coordinator, and all he had to throw to was Tez Walker, who was a fringe-ish first-round type receiver, probably will go in the second, maybe the third. Very De'Ami Brown-esque, but better. But he doesn't have the talent Jaden Daniels is throwing to. And yes, talent does not count as a flaw of a player, but he has a lot less talent to work with, and he still balled out for the most part. He still combined for 4,000 yards, 35 touchdowns this year. And he ran for 700 yards. 6'5", 230-pound quarterback that ran for 700 yards and double-digit touchdowns. That's very Josh Allen-esque. Josh Allen had 18 rushing touchdowns this year. Give me this big boy in the building, big corn-fed. All I care about is football guy. His whole personality is big country football playing white boy. He looks like he goes to the gas station and says, give me a whole log of Copenhagen wintergreen long cut. He looked like he got dip in his mouth all the time and a playbook in his right hand. Give me Drizzy Drake May with the second overall pick in the NFL draft, which is now taking us to pick number 36 in the NFL draft in the second round. Actually, no, we're going to take 2 shots on round 1. We want to come out as night 1 as the winners of the first round of the NFL draft. So you know what Washington is doing here with the 36th overall pick? We are packaging pick number 36 and next year's second and a 5th in 2025 to move up to the 26th draft spot, because we are coming up for our stalwart offensive tackle of the future, and we're dipping from a program that we've dipped into before. Oklahoma left tackle Tyler Guyton. I trust the program. We drafted Trent Williams, Hall of Famer. Anton Harrison went in the first round last year to Jacksonville. Baller. I trust the guys that play tackle from this program, and he's an absolute behemoth of a man. 6'7", 330 pounds. Right up on PFN says Guyton has only started 5 games in 2022, but he immediately jumps off the screen at you as a polished blocker with 14 total games played in 3 seasons. Playing right tackle across from 2023 first-round pick Anton Harrison, Guyton has a natural pass block ability with refined patience. He's a standout athlete who can effortlessly pivot from one target to another when he needs to. He's a nasty run blocker, will pancake a defender from time to time when he has the chance, and there's room for improvement with how he engages with his hands. He had a phenomenal senior week. He was throwing Bamas out the club all week. 6'7", 330. I'm betting on those skills, and I'm leaving night 1 of the NFL draft with my long-term stalwart left tackle and my fixture at the quarterback position. Give me an A+ grade, because we just left with pick 2 and pick 26 for a couple seconds in the 5th. And we left with Drake May and Tyler Guyton, which moves us to our first pick of an only pick in the second round. The 40th pick of the 2024 NFL. Washington is drafting move tight end Jatavian Sanders. Texas, 6'4", 240 pounds. They call him JT Sanders. And first things first, I want a guy at the position wearing the number 0. Looks absolutely phenomenal. But let's get to the football aspects of it. They say he's the best pass catching prospect on Texas. And there's a lot of weapons coming out of that offense. Xavier Worthy and company. He moves extremely well for 6'4", 250 pounds, showing off great comfort as he releases off the line of scrimmage and even as defenders drape his body in coverage. He's a natural receiver who has the mold of Gerald Everett. He's a willing blocker, and he's willing to finish and get physical after the catch. He won't be confused for a great blocker like Brock Bowers, but he makes an effort. He should be valued as a strong day two prospect with another quality year in 2023. That's from Ian Valentino of Pro Football Network. Washington desperately needs a dynamic tight end. I'm sorry, Logan Thomas, John Bates, Cole Turner, for whatever reason, who does not play and gets a healthy scratch every week. We need a guy. And I think the way that we're going to handle the tight end position this offseason is we're going to sign one and we're going to draft one. And this is the one we're taking with our third pick. 2 first-round picks. We went quarterback, tackle, and now we're going tight end at the top of the second round, 40. A few picks into the second round, actually. And we're getting our starter here. We're getting our Sam Laporta. We can get John Bates will be just fine as a tight end 2, tight end 3, blocking, balanced tight end. But I need somebody that becomes a matchup nightmare. I need somebody with some wiggle. And I need somebody who can make shake in the passing game, because a tight end is the ultimate comfort blanket for a young quarterback. And we're giving our young quarterback a security blanket. We're giving him a stalwart left tackle, and we're building this shit around Drizzy Drake May, our first 3 picks of this mock draft. Drake May, Tyler Guyton, Jatavion Sanders. Moving on to the third round, but not so fast. We want to get back in the second round because we have another player in mind. We want to continue the trend of building around Drake May in the offense, and Washington is now packaging Jonathan Allen to the Green Bay Packers, who have 2 second-round picks, the latter of the 2, pick number 58. They're giving us 58 and a future 5 for Jonathan Allen. So a 2025 fifth-rounder in this year's second for Jonathan Allen. If you're offering a 2 for Allen, I'm taking it in a heartbeat. And Washington, with the 58th pick in this 2024 mock draft, the Washington Commanders are going to select center Cedric Van Pram, Georgia Bulldogs. Bring them on. We got another dog to add to our litany of offensive linemen that we're collecting this year like infinity stones. Washington is absolutely getting after it on the O-line. They are not playing any games. We're going to protect our quarterback. We saw what happened with Sam Howell last year. The top centers in the class are Jackson Powers Johnson out of Oregon, Zach Fraser out of West Virginia. If Christian Haynes decides to play center at the next level, him and Cedric Van Pran are battling to be center 3 of the draft class. I know we drafted Ricky Stromberg last year to play center, but maybe we can push Stromberg over to guard. He can compete for the left guard spot, word to Jay Gruden. He can compete for the left guard spot because we're taking a higher upside absolute bully. This is a throw them out the club type center prospect Washington is selecting here. I trust the Georgia program. They've done nothing but win. They took their first loss in 3 years to end the 2023 campaign. And the write-up on Van Pran says, he would have contended with Joe Tittman and John Michael Smits as the first center off the board in the draft last year. Van Pran is an excellent mover who possesses an innate ability to pursue the correct angle at the second level while also having the lower body composition and power to be a difference maker at the first level. Dalton Miller, Pro Football Network. Don't need to go too into detail. It's a center. I'm not going to pretend to be Mitch Tisler, Brian Baldinger, or any of the above. 4 picks in. Washington has a starting quarterback, a starting left tackle, a starting center, and a starting dynamic move tight end as they close rounds 1 and 2 of the NFL draft, which takes me to the fun round, round 3, because Washington, once again, is on the board 2 times. You notice a trend here with this mock draft. We're taking 2 dudes home with us in each round to start this draft. 2 in the first, 2 in the second, and we're going to take 2 more in the third round of the draft. And a position that Washington has neglected for quite some time, for whatever reason that is. Ron Rivera and Jack Del Rio were middle linebackers in this league. They were middle linebackers in college. They were middle linebackers in the NFL. But for whatever reason, when they came to Washington, they lived their entire lives as if the linebacker position does not exist or is not important. We are drafting freaky Edgerrin Cooper, linebacker, Texas A&M. Boy's just under 6'4", 230 plus pounds. The write-up says linebackers who naturally and consistently make plays are impossible to replicate. They can run north of a 4.7 and still be available because they process information at lightning speed and are innate playmakers. His length allows him to wrangle ball characters with an incredibly high hit rate. He knifes through blockers and consistently makes plays around the line of scrimmage while providing a bump as a pass rusher. So we were talking in the chat about this, and Jalen, Bleeding B&G, Jalen Morgan, shout out to my guy. He says, in Dan Quinn's defense, Edgerrin Cooper would be used like Bruce Irvin as an off-ball backer with amazing pass rushing and blitz ability. If you saw what Bruce Irvin used to be in that Legion of Boom defense up in Seattle, this guy is a freak. He flashes all over the tape. My favorite two linebackers in this class is Edgerrin Cooper and Peyton Wilson out of NC State. Peyton Wilson in this mock draft went off the board a few picks before Washington. So with the 67th pick, Washington brings home a freak of nature linebacker to pair with Jamin Davis. And they finally get a detailed, savvy defensive coach in here to get them right. Dan Quinn, if you can't make shit shake with Edgerrin Cooper and Jamin Davis, I don't know what to tell you, man. We desperately need some type of adequate play from the linebacker position. Well, this is big fish hunting because this guy's a freak of nature. His talent says better than a third rounder, so getting him here at 67 is quite an easy pick for Washington. And the final pick of this 3-round mock draft to close out Washington's 6th pick in nights 1 and 2 of the NFL draft at pick 96, Washington is getting sexy. We just took a defensive player. That's the only defensive player you're going to see in this mock draft because we're going offense, we're going sex appeal, and we're going home run hitting running back. You know how they got the two-headed monster up in Detroit with David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs? Washington now adds our Jahmyr Gibbs to our Brian Robinson, who's going to play as our David Montgomery in this offense. And we're adding Bucky Irvin, running back, University of Oregon, 5'11", 190, home run hitter. He can bounce. He can take anything to the crib. Lightning speed. He does have an issue of trying to take everything, bounce everything to the outside, but a lot of finesse backs have that issue. I love the value here at the end of the 3rd round. This is the Chase Young pick. So the trade to San Francisco of Chase Young has just gifted us a quasi-starting running back because I expect in Kliff Kingsbury's offense, we're going to be running the shit out of two backs and we're going to be throwing the ball to him. Bucky Irvin is a pass-catching threat. The write-up on PFN says, without a doubt, Bucky Irvin has breakaway speed that can cover up significant flaws or mistakes. Sometimes it's an issue as Irvin will bounce everything outside the tackle box even when he doesn't need to, but it can still pay off. Bucky is competitive and works to keep plays alive effectively. He keeps his eyes up, scanning for a rushing lane when one is not obvious. Though Irving has trouble slowing down quickly to change direction and will sometimes run into a blocker, Antonio Gibson. Antonio Gibson is the king of running into a blocker or tripping over his feet. He's moving on this offseason. But Bucky is decisive and won't take many tackles for loss. He's a strong inside zone or outside zone team. They will love his ability to hit big plays and stress defenses out. He could become a starter on a pass-heavy team that wants a variance back who is a major receiving threat. And that sounds exactly like what we will be doing here in DC with Kliff Kingsbury running this offense. Like I said, this mock draft is under the assumption that Kliff Kingsbury has been hired as our offensive coordinator here. So Washington is leaving with 6 players after night 2 of the draft. You could call us the winners of day 1 and day 2 if you see this draft haul. At number 2, Washington took UNC quarterback Drake May. Number 26, we traded up with Tampa Bay. We traded a future 2nd and a future 5th in this year's first 2nd round pick to get left tackle Tyler Guyton, Oklahoma. In the 2nd round, we took Jatavian Sanders, tight end, number 0, University of Texas. And then we traded back into the 2nd round for pick number 58 from the Green Bay Packers. And with that pick, we took center Cedric Van Pram, Georgia Bulldog. And then we entered the last round of night 2 of the draft. The 3rd round, pick 67, 3 picks into the 3rd round. Washington gets its final solution for the linebacker position. Freak of nature, Edrin Cooper, Texas A&M, and we concluded Washington's 3-round, 6-player mock draft with an electrifying play-making assassin running back in Bucky Irvin of the Oregon Ducks. 6 players, a couple trades, and Washington is leaving with all of the weapons after 3 days of the draft. Washington's leaving with A's all across the draft board. Honestly, draft grades do not matter immediately, but you know we love the draft, and you know we want to follow all of the pundits' assessments and prognostication of what Washington did in the draft. I feel like Dan Quinn and Adam Peters would be knocking it out the park with these 6 picks. Let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know what you would have done differently. And this is going to be one of many mock drafts. So this is just 1.0. It's going to change a bunch of times. We're going to predict a bunch of different scenarios for the team, but we're going to be drafting quarterback almost every time we do this. That's all I got for right now. Mock Draft Monday, Washington Commanders edition. 6 picks, 3 rounds, 6 starters. Boom. Sign me up. Put me on staff. Adam Peters. Until next time, hail to the Washington Commanders. Commander Rio, out.